everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing a review for The Incredibles 2. This, of course, will have spoilers in it, but that will be, it'll be like a spoiler-free section first, and then I'll let you guys know when we're getting to the spoilers. But to kick things right off, it was definitely a great movie. I actually think I enjoyed this one a bit more than the first movie. I have to go back. It's been a minute since I watched the first Incredibles. Not super long. Like it hasn't been like, 10 or 8 years. It's probably only been like honestly like maybe 4 or 5 months. I think it was like on cable, and I was like, The Incredibles is on. Like it's one of those movies where I can just stop and I'll be like, The Incredibles. I love it. Funny movie, like the action in it, love the characters in it. And then I can just watch that movie, and I feel like this is exactly the same way. It's not as exotic. Like this actually takes place all within the city. Like the first movie was kind of island based, so it's like it's the characters and they focus on them. So it's kind of like, all right, we already had that pretty much for the whole movie. It's like that family dynamic with a couple of characters thrown in, and then this is like what happens when that family dynamic is truly shifted into like what started the whole movie, which was that superheroes got banned, so that's why the family was kind of just a normal family, and this is kind of putting them back in, of course, in the spotlight with superheroes coming back. And I love the element of it. Of course, the animation looks better than it did before. It looks great. Music is still phenomenal. Like that's always been one of my favorite things because it's that sort of orchestra style. So I love the music in the first one. The music is just as good in this one. They actually have it's super funny, but you should definitely stay for the credits. There's no like in credit sequence, but some of the music is just really really good, and some of it's actually funny. So you should definitely like just stick through the credits because they're really good. But all in all, I really loved it. I thought the villain was cool. And there's some stuff, get to that. It's like kind of a half and half situation, which you probably already heard. But there's kind of half and half there. Kind of cool, kind of meh. But so entertaining. Like some of the action, and that's probably one of the things about it that I really enjoyed the most is that in the first movie, with it being that island setting, it was like, oh, there's it's bad guys and the family versus the bad guys. This movie is like it's heroes being heroes. But are they really gonna save everybody? Like it was one of those things where just watching it because of how crazy it was getting, it was like I don't know if everyone's actually gonna live through this situation. Like some of these innocent people might not actually come out of it alive. And it was one of those things where I was like, that's way more intense than the first movie because it was just it's the main family. It's like how are they gonna get captured and then escape, that sort of deal. But this was like, sure, the main characters are gonna live, but there's like 100 people in this situation, and I don't think they can save everybody. So it was really fun going through that, and it was like this is actually super intense. Just trying to see like, is this gonna work? The action sequences, like the first big set piece, is great, where it picks up right where the last movie left off. The second set piece is probably my favorite. Like it's hard to say, but it was probably my favorite with the Elastigirl's like first big set. But all the set pieces just have like every time they get to a set piece, it's great. Like every single one has like at least one moment where I'm like, that was just an epic moment. Like in every single sequence, there was something just super cool. So whole way through, all the action is great. I thought the characters were still really good. I think it's even funnier this time than the last time because it deals with more of the actual family dynamic because it's basically it's one of those weird things where this is that kind of sequel deal where it's like, oh, it's just like the first movie but reversed. But they do that and then they do it like a million times better than most of those situations. Like it is that basically because it's like, oh, the first movie was the dad leaves, mom stays home, and then it's like, oh, things are getting crazy. And then this movie is just the opposite, except there's the element of that was just like normal life with them before, where it's like dad went to work and mom stayed home, and now it's reversed, and it's like super weird for Mr. Incredible being like this cocky dude, and that was like his whole thing in the first movie too, where it's like, I just want to be the superhero. He's still that guy. Like the characters don't suddenly change. It's still them switching roles, but they're still the same characters. Whereas like I want to do everything that she's getting to do and this and that. So it works. I thought the writing was really well done in that element, like just the normal character side of it. So that was fun. Comedy was good. Action was good. Characters were good. And then other than that, like it was just fun. It was just a really good movie. So I'm excited for this to come out. I might see it a second time. Honestly, I wouldn't mind. But definitely fun. Definitely loved it. Like I said, I think I have to watch. Like Syndrome was such a good villain, so I think it's the villain element where it just like I think that might pick it up for the first movie in itself. But definitely love this one for sure. So spoiler free section done. Go out, see the movie if you were worried. Don't be. It's freaking great, so you'll definitely enjoy it. Even if you don't like it as much, it's one of those things where you can't just be like, I just hated that. Like there's no way you could say that unless you just don't like good stuff. I don't know. That's all I can think. It was really fun. But getting into the spoilers, I would have to say the first thing to talk about is my least favorite element, which of course is the villain aspect of it. And everybody had the same issue where it was just like, oh, screenslaver, comes on, and then it's like, I bet it's this character, and it was, and it ends up being the sister, and excuse me, I was like, okay, well, yeah, I kind of thought that was gonna be the case, and I think people even said that during like the first trailer and stuff. It was like, oh, we don't know who the screenslaver is, but it's like, what if it ends up being like Bob Odenkirk's character, the dude in the suit, and it's like, well, what if it's him and he's tricking them and stuff like that. And I do wish it was like just a legitimate villain who happened to know what was going on, but it was just kind of obvious. And it was like, the main thing about it was that I feel like they could have had some way to trick us, but they would have needed another character to do it. But it was like, this is, like, these are our two characters who created this company based around their parents. It's like, all right, well, yeah, my brother's the face, he's in the suit and everything, and I'm just like the cool sister who invents everything. And the fact that she was the one doing like this insanely high tech stuff was like, this is so amazing, and no one's ever even made this stuff. And then it's just like, well, how does Screenslaver know we're gonna be here? How they're hacking this? And I'm like, it's her. It's gonna be her, because you need like something else to make us not think that, because there would have to be, like I said, there would have to be some red herrings. There either needs to be, it would just legitimately have to be a third character to at least make us think that it was somebody else, because it's like, you have to have someone that is of equal intelligence to the sister just to have that idea, like, well, it could still be her, but it could be them too. And then even then it would be like, well, the not so obvious twist, the weird cliche twist would be that it was her, but it could at least have worked a little bit. And when you don't have that red herring, and it's basically like saying this character can literally do everything, and then having the villain being able to do everything, plus they happen to be able to beat the person that can do everything. It's like, well, that just makes me think it's the person you said can do everything. Plus they know, like, there has to be some leak, because they knew Elastigirl was going to be there, and that was like the main thing, because the whole point of them was like, oh, well, Elastigirl's hiding, listen to police scanners, so nobody knew she was going to be there but people within the company. And if they had that third, or add like 2 or 3 extra little characters, I don't know how they could have done it, but just other people that were high up that knew what they were planning, it could have worked. But in this case, it was like, well, there's literally 2 characters, so it's either going to be the sister or it's going to be the brother. And I was like, I think it's not going to be the twist where it's the good guy suddenly is the bad guy. I was like, she's the character who's so cool about everything that she's actually going to be the one who's angry about everything. I was like, that's how they're playing it. And unfortunately, that was the case, and it was simple, but still a sweet villain. Before the reveal and everything, when it was just like Screenslaver, the character and stuff, very cool. I love the idea of it. It was very old school. I love the mask and how it's like, it was almost like the microphones they use for like boxing rings and stuff like that come down and have like the lines going straight down. So I was like, well, that's cool. I like the design of it. Very simple. It's very, very villainy, whereas like, you guys don't play games, you watch game shows. Like, it was very, the sort of cliche monologue villain thing, but it was really good, and I definitely enjoyed that. Of course, the apartment scene was one of my favorites without a doubt. That fight, once again, all the fight sequences, that might be my favorite one, actually. I thought it was going to be Elastigirl's first thing, but I think it's actually her in the apartment, because it was just like, holy crap, this looks insanely freaking cool. It was such a good scene, but I thought that was nice. And then, of course, the reveal was just like, oh, not as epic. That's very unfortunate. So, like, it kind of got revealed, and then it was just like, yeah, that's kind of what everyone ever, probably thought while watching this movie. So that was legitimately the one unfortunate thing, but I still think it was fun. Just all the way through, I still really enjoyed it. Definitely funny. Bob trying to be the good dad, I thought was really great. And it's like, okay, so instead of him being just the crappy father, it's like, nope, the first night he was just, he was, I thought it was going to be the normal transition where it's like, oh, day one, he's like super dad, or, incredible dad. And then it would be like harder and harder throughout the week. But it was like, nope, day one, it was good, but still really bad. Because, of course, Jack is the kid who's jumping through walls and teleporting through dimensions, laser beams. Him with the raccoon is the funniest thing ever. And then Bob is like, all right, well, I guess I have to freaking learn new math and stuff like that. So it's driving him crazy, but he's doing it. So I like the way they handled the characters. Edna Mode was, of course, absolutely hilarious. I loved her scene, especially finding out that the baby had powers. So she's like, okay, yeah, I'll definitely babysit. I get to, experience this new, crazy, super-powered, multi-powered baby. So that was definitely funny. Jack has so many powers. Like, they even added powers compared to the last movie. And they didn't even show some of them, because he never turned into the steel version in this movie, because they showed that in the last one, too. It was him on fire. The vibration thing that they had, he never did. They showed the fire stuff, and they showed like the demon baby thing, and so like 2 of those powers they didn't actually bring back. They kind of swapped them out and did the multi baby, laser beams, the dimensional stuff. But technically, if you watch like the old babysitting short, they did the teleporting, or at least phasing through walls. Flying they had in there, which I think they did in this too. Like him, well, yeah, they had parts where he was floating because when Edna was gonna catch him, they had him doing the weird rocket sneeze, and he would just like fly off and then just be like boop, and just go through walls and stuff. And it's like, crap, we lost him. So tons of powers from him, and then the giant baby mode. So a ton of really funny stuff with Jack. Jack just like, well, what's happening here? He's got a billion powers. So definitely fun watching him throughout the movie. So enjoyed that in general. So I don't know if we're gonna get a third one, which they kind of teased. If you did stay after the credits, they show like the Underminer technically got away still, and they have like a little animation where he pops out of the ground and just goes across the screen. But curious what they might do with that, if they'll bring it back. Funny enough, if you randomly want like an alternate version of The Incredibles 2, there is a game that does take place right after the movie. Like years ago, they made this game, and it's actually with Mr. Incredible and Frozone, where the family actually gets kidnapped, and then the two of them team up to take on the Underminer, and that's like the whole game. So if you want like an alternate universe version of The Incredibles 2, there's a super old game that you could probably get for like $1 at this point on like Xbox, the original. So, there you go. But, look that up on YouTube if you want to see that, because that has existed for a super long time. And I was curious if they were actually going to make that the story, or, what they were going to do. But that's like, an alternate thing just for video game universe. A little co-op Incredibles 2 game. So, thought that was cool. But really enjoyed the movie. Definitely liked the characters. Like I said, really the only thing was the main villain reveal wasn't as epic as it would have been, because it's like, well, figure that, what a shocker. But everything else was still cool. Everybody else being taken over. I was surprised that it got down to the kids saving them again, so I thought that was actually cool. And then they use it's not just Dash and Violet this time, Jack is involved, so I like the way that was handled. I like the fact that Frozone got a lot more attention in this movie, because I just thought it was cool, because of course it was just the family, but Frozone was like that one extra character. Was like, I want to see more of him because he's got superpowers. So he was like the only other character in the first movie that I cared about. Like Dicker, I'm like, whatever, he's the secret agent guy, who cares? Frozone's got superpowers, I want to see more of that guy. So we got to see a lot more of him, because he was like the end cap for the first movie. It was like he was before the island and then after the island when they were back in the city. So we got to see a lot more of him, so that was definitely awesome. Way more in the action and everything. Even the ending, he, using his powers to like make all the snow and stuff, to keep the ship from like destroying the building. So a great use of all the different powers. We got to see extra abilities from some of the characters, mostly from Violet and Frozone, really. But definitely enjoyed it. So all in all, love the movie. Naturally want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and I would love to know. Incredibles 1 or Incredibles 2. I would love to know which one is your favorite, which one you would prefer. If you had to like break it down, what makes one better than the other, if you're not just picking one over the other. For this, I would say, for me, I would say action would go to this one, outside of like the one sequence that was just like perfect with Dash when he ran across the water during that one sequence in the first movie. Other than that, it was like, okay, the action's cool, but in this one it was just like, holy crap, like pretty much, like I said, every single fight had at least one moment where I was like, that's just a really cool thing, like just how they use the powers, or just something in it was really epic. So I would say action and probably dialogue both go to the second one for me. Villain obviously goes to the first movie, because Syndrome was an amazing villain in that first movie, so I love the way they handled that. But yeah, I don't know, like I said, I have to kind of watch it back to back and be like, which one do I really like more? But right now, just the way it was so intense, and I was actually curious, like, is everyone gonna get saved? Because there were actually people to save this time, compared to, like the first movie, it ended with that, but I wasn't like, okay. This movie, it felt like it was actually tense. Like, it was like, is she gonna catch this train? Which I figured she would, but just the way it was playing out, I was sad that it was in the first action sequence, and then she had to toss the motorcycle. I was like, oh man, that was so cool, like the whole stretching thing. But yeah, I would love to know your comparisons between the first movie and this one, which one got what parts, better. So we'd love to know what you guys think about that as far as comparisons, what you guys think about this movie in general. So please put your comments down in the comment section below, and of course, thanks for watching.